This is CNN Breaking News.
Good evening, I'm Erin Burnett, and out front tonight, the breaking news. The chairman on the House Oversight Committee, which just wrapped up a dramatic 7-hour hearing with the president's former fixer, Michael Cohen, telling reporters moments ago that he now believes the president broke the law while he has been in office.
Do you believe that the president committed a crime while in office?
Based on what, looking at the text and listening to Mr. Cohen, it appears that he did.
That is a big moment for this country. What Chairman Cummings is saying, let's be very clear, breaking the law while in office opens the door to impeachment proceedings. Cummings' comments come on the heels of that hearing with Michael Cohen, where Cohen left nothing unsaid.
I am ashamed because I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat.
Cohen today detailing never-before-heard information about Trump's hush money payments to women and on Russia. Now, Cohen, of course, originally covered up for President Trump on paying hush money to Stormy Daniels. Today, though, we saw it, $35,000 check reimbursing Cohen for the payment. You see that check. It was one of the exhibits produced by Cohen today, signed by Donald Trump. Signed by Donald Trump. Look at the date. He was president of the United States when that check was signed. Cohen testifying today that President Trump called him while he was president to make sure that he continued to lie about the payments to Daniels.
Did the president call you to coordinate on public messaging about the payments to Ms. Clifford's in or around February 2018?
Yes.
What did the president ask or suggest that you say about the payments or reimbursements?
He was not knowledgeable of these reimbursements, and he wasn't knowledgeable of my actions.
He asked you to say that.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you telling us, Mr. Cohen, that the president directed transactions in conspiracy with Alan Weisselberg and his son, Donald Trump Jr., as part of a criminal conspiracy of financial fraud? Is that your testimony today?
Yes.
And he's talking about those payments. Cohen is going to prison, of course, for his part in that conspiracy. So far, the other alleged players, including the president of the United States, not yet paying a price. Also new tonight, Cohen says Trump knew in advance that WikiLeaks was planning to publish hacked emails. Let me play that exchange.
January of this year, 2019, the New York Times asked President Trump if he ever spoke to Roger Stone about these stolen emails. And President Trump answered, and I quote, "No, I didn't. I never did." Was that statement by President Trump true?
No, it's not accurate.
And can you please describe for us, to the best of your recollection, you were present, exactly what Mr. Stone said to Mr. Trump?
It was a short conversation, and he said, Mr. Trump, I just want to let you know that I just got off the phone with Julian Assange, and in a couple of days, there's going to be a massive dump of emails that's going to severely hurt the Clinton campaign.
Now, that is something both Stone and Trump deny. But the question of whether Trump's people were in touch with Russian-linked WikiLeaks is central to the Russia investigation, of course. And on top of these two big issues, right, the hush money payments to women and the Russia investigation, there could be more, we found out today. Cohen also saying federal prosecutors are investigating Trump for crimes that have not yet been publicly discussed.
Is there any other wrongdoing or illegal act that you are aware of regarding Donald Trump that we haven't yet discussed today?
Yes, and again, those are part of the investigation that's currently being looked at by the Southern District of New York.
Cohen, of course, famously said he'd take a bullet for Trump. Do you remember that? And figuratively, let's be honest, he has. He's going to prison in part because of crimes prosecutors say were done at the direction of President Trump.
What do you want your children to know?
That I'm sorry for everything, and I'm sorry for the pain that I've caused them. And I wish I can go back in time.
So why did Cohen do it? Why did he continue to serve and work for a man that he specifically today said was a racist, a con man, and a cheat for more than a decade?
Being around Mr. Trump was intoxicating when you were in his presence. You felt like you were involved in something greater than yourself, that you were somehow changing the world.
Manu Raja begins our coverage tonight out front on Capitol Hill. Manu, you know, it was very emotional. And I think as we saw from some of those sound bites, I mean, it was emotional. It was, in a sense, sort of soul-bearing. And yet there was a lot of new information in there. When Chairman Cummings tonight said that crimes happened while the president was in office, do you know what he's referring to when he says it appears that this happened?
It appears that he's referring to the fact that the president was involved in this hush money scheme all the way in through at least 2017 when he was still president, and he was president and signing a check that Michael Cohen produced today for $35,000 as part of a series of payments that were part of that hush money scheme, a criminal act in the view of a lot of people, a lot of Democrats, noting that also that the Southern District of New York implicated the president in those crimes. What Adam Schiff, the House Intelligence Committee chairman, just told me was that, well, the Southern District of New York had already implicated the president in those crimes, but, quote, what we saw today was those crimes continued while he was in the Oval Office. So now the question is, where do the Democrats go from here? We expect this to be a key part of the investigations that are happening going forward. Elijah Cummings told me that probably they'll bring Alan Weisselberg, who's the CFO of the Trump Organization, as well as Donald Trump Jr., whose name he signed at least one of those checks to come to Capitol Hill as part of their investigation into those hush money payments. Adam Schiff said they're going to drill down much further tomorrow when Cohen comes back to a classified setting about those topics. But today's testimony only going to fuel the investigations on Capitol Hill. And will that begin that discussion over impeachment proceedings? Right now, the Democrat leaders are trying to tamp that down. Cummings himself, I asked him, were they any impeachable offenses? He said that, well, I want to proceed very cautiously. They want the investigation to continue. They want to see what the Mueller report ultimately produces. But yes, this information revealed today significant to how the Democrats here plan to pursue it. And of course, we'll see how the federal prosecutors also decide to pursue it. At least we know that at least the Southern District of New York is still investigating the president, according to what Cohen said today.
Right, certainly, according to what Cohen said, Cohen pretty blunt about it. He was cooperating and in the hopes, he said, in part, that he could get his sentence reduced further. All right, thank you very much, Manu. And I want to go now to a Democrat who questioned Michael Cohen today, Congressman Jerry Connolly. He's on the Oversight Committee. Congressman, good to have you with me. So you heard Chairman Cummings. He said, look at today's testimony, and it appears that the President of the United States has committed a crime while in office. Do you agree?
Yes, I do. And I don't think that's new. In the filing in the Cohen case by the Southern District of New York, the words used were, he committed a crime, he, Cohen, that was coordinated and directed by individual number one, and we know individual number one was identified as Donald J. Trump. So there's nothing particularly new. I think we had a lot of
now you understand more about what it was? I mean,
that's right.
This is about the payments and around those checks that we saw?
That's right. I think all of us were shocked today to learn that the payments continued from the Oval Office and that Donald J. Trump was unwise enough to actually sign one of those checks himself.
Right. I mean, we'll show it again. I mean, that check is there. His name is on it. The date is 2017. But when you take that together, and I know that the Mueller report's not out there, and I know there's things we don't know, but if what we know is that the President of the United States wrote this check, as indeed he did, and it's for hush money payment, that would be a crime, right? So then do you go ahead with
I believe it's at least one crime. And that is a violation of the federal election law because he was clearly circumventing the law, which is why he was hiding both the nature of the payment under a false retainer arrangement with Mr. Cohen that did not exist, and trying to hide the payments themselves by lying about it.
Okay, so is that impeachable? I mean, if there's a crime in office, isn't that definitionally impeachable?
You know, I'm gonna let this process unfold before I decide what is and is not impeachable. But let me just say, illegal acts by the President of the United States that come to the attention of Congress like this cannot be ignored.
So you're saying there's other things that you could do besides impeach?
I'm saying they cannot be ignored.
So what does that mean? I'm just trying to understand.
The Congress simply can't turn a blind eye to this, and at some point the process will have to start to work. What the outcomes are, I can't determine right now, but we take a constitutional oath to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States. And when we have a bad actor in the White House, which the founders very much had in mind when they provided for impeachment, we can't ignore that. And so it has to be addressed at some point in some fashion.
Okay, so you don't want to go there quite yet on impeachment in terms of the
this is our
words
first hearing.
Yeah.
We want to be methodical. We want to be fact-based. We want to make sure that Mueller has the opportunity to give his report and take final actions before we do.